Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. And we got Angela today. And hi Angela, thanks for
Hello.
coming along.
Thanks for asking me in.
Yeah, my pleasure. How's your day going?
Well, it's one of those very unusually hot days in Belfast, which we all wait for and then can't cope with when it comes. So,
Yeah.
my day has been fine. I've managed to get through some work, but I am looking forward to being able to enjoy the sun rather than moan about it while I work.
Yes. I know the studio is getting really warm, and that gives us one more reason to keep it short.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, so those who don't know about Angela and Money Ready,
Mhm.
do you want to start here?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So my name's Angela. I work for Money Ready, and we're a financial education charity, and we work all across the UK. And our vision is for a financially fluent population. So what does that mean? That means we want to bring the language of finance to life, because we believe it is a language that you need to understand. And if you're not taught the rules of it and how it works, then you can sort of feel that you're failing at it. So we want to empower people and give them confidence with dealing with their money, no matter where they've started. The organisation itself has been going nearly 20 years, but we arrived in Northern Ireland about 2.5 years ago.
And who brought it?
That would be me. That would be me. I was entrusted to start up the hub here in January 2024. As a whole organisation, we reach about 50,000 children and young people across the whole country. But here in Northern Ireland, we are a small but mighty team. And we've worked with about 5,500 since we started, 2,500 this year alone. So we're growing and reaching more and more people, and it's great.
It's a lovely team. Now we're doing the podcast, but what happened 2 months ago as part of the Belfast Learning Week?
The Belfast Learning Festival,
Yeah, Learning Festival. So then I was in Innovation Factory, one of your seminar. And I told Michelle, it is Michelle.
Michelle, yeah.
Michelle, I wish this happened when I was back in school.
Yeah.
I wish I knew all this when I was back in school. That could have changed my life a lot.
Absolutely. So Michelle and Lena are my two other trainers, my trusty trainers. We're doing a saving and investment workshop, which is what you came to, how you sort of discovered we exist. Because that is something that we all feel very passionately about. None of us got this in school. I often stand in front of groups and go, I made mistakes, so you don't have to. Yeah. But that's not the best way to learn. We want to be empowering people so that they can avoid the mistakes and make good choices for them. And what we were covering that day, saving and investing, is really important. In Northern Ireland, we have some of the sort of lowest saving rates compared to the whole of the UK. I mean, we're not wonderful in the UK in general, but Northern Ireland particularly low with those saving rates. And we want people to see the difference that it can make, and also the difference between saving and investing and getting more future ready, and yeah, it was great that you came along to that session and got so much out of it.
And I'm happy about it, to be fair. And yeah, because as you mentioned, and you said you've been in UK for 20 years, that's a really long time. And in Northern Ireland now it's like more than 4 years.
No, 2.5. So we started in 2024, yeah.
2024. And were you was a teacher before?
Yes.
Now, like most of the time I tell the people I speak to, I wish all these things we're trying to do now, I wish this was taught in school before.
Yeah.
And coming from a teaching background, now we're trying to teach everyone, not only like students, about financial, how to manage your personal finances, saving and investing. Have you finding that shift?
Well, I'm actually really enjoying it. So I did love being a teacher. I was a teacher for about 14 years. And I mean, I love teaching. I love my subject, which was languages. And so many people saying, how do you go from this to this? But as a secondary teacher, you are required to do lots of different things to cover the sort of the whole well-rounded young person in front of you. In England, where I taught, that was PSHE. And here in Northern Ireland, it's learning for life and work. So 1 month you could be told you're doing something about how to cross the road safely. You're doing something about healthy eating. And in my 14 years, there was only one session I did on money management. And it was my second last year. And I was sitting there with a group of girls who were in their final year. They were just doing their GCSE. And I'd been given a PowerPoint that came from a bank, and I was talking about mortgages. And I was like, I have a mortgage. This is fine. I can answer these questions. And I could answer most of the things that they asked, but they had so many. And that was when I realized that that these young people that I was sending out with very good grasp of German verbs and past tense and future tense weren't ready to deal with their money, and there was nobody at home to tell them about it. And actually from that class, there was a young Muslim girl who said to me, but I can't borrow. And that was the first time I realized that there are different rules in different cultures and religions around borrowing. I had lived there in East London for 14 years and had never spoken with anybody about that. And now in the 2.5 years since I've started this job, the amount of people who have started conversations with me, whether that is in meetings, in social situations, my friends who've never asked me about these things before, suddenly sort of whisper me, like, I actually don't understand my pension. What is it? Can you talk to me? And so it's opened up. I'm having conversations with all ages and stages of people. And it's really nice to be doing something where people can go and make an immediate difference, and then also go away and work on the sort of habits that make a long-term change to, to their everyday, to their future. It's been a really nice transition for me.
Yeah. Exactly. Even that small group we had when I was in the Innovation Factory for that session by Money, the whole group was engaging and they were like asking questions, and I was like, obviously you ask questions like, do you invest, do you save? And yeah, like, I've been putting money aside every month for S&P 500, and I had a conversation with one of my managers on my previous job. She was like, what is S&P 500? Like people don't know, these things exist. Like it's very easy to start to, just set a direct debit and that money goes there. But again, as you mentioned earlier, this is not something taught in school.
Yeah.
But I think that's a gap you're trying to fill in as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and also Money Ready being throughout the UK, and how the Northern Ireland picture looks when you compare it to the whole UK for Money Ready.
Well, strangely, it's actually been in the Northern Ireland curriculum for the longest. So I think it was either 2006, maybe 2007. It's been embedded in the Northern Ireland curriculum. I think Scotland and Wales was 2008, and then in England it was 2014. It's often put into the maths curriculum. I know in primary school it's in places like the world around us, that part of the curriculum. But it's the delivery of it is patchy, because I think it's 42% of children coming out of school in Northern Ireland, according to a MAPS, a Money and Pension Service study from 2022, said that they haven't had any meaningful financial education. So there's something going wrong. It's in the curriculum, but it's not getting translated. And now, as I said, I was a secondary school teacher, and I hadn't had any training in it. So unless what we want is experts to be delivering this. I want my geography teachers to be experts. I want my maths teachers to be experts. And I want the people who are teaching me children for the future on finances to be experts. And that is not just on the knowledge. We can all do compound interest in a maths lesson and go, there you go, that's how a credit card works. But all of the other things, the understanding how much your emotions have to do with your spending, the difference between, I suppose, what you could say, good, that not all debt is bad. Impulse spending, all of these things. And we want people to be able to access the subject and feel enthusiastic, feel empowered by it, because that's the thing. We want people to have confidence. We want them to be empowered by it. And if the teachers don't feel confident, and before I got this job, I was not confident to teach anybody that, if they're not confident, then we're not going to get that translated to the young people.
Like it's all simple things, because I remember Michelle talked about helping the staff looking at the payslips and trying to understand the payslip. But when you talk about it, it's actually simple, but how many people can actually understand what's on their payslip?
Yeah.
So that makes a difference. And even with most of the stuff we can do start with, like savings or investing, these are like very simple steps. But you need like someone to tell them. You know what I mean? And you work with young people at key transition points.
Yeah.
And so what do you find out? Like what's working and what's landing with them?
So our model is that we go into mostly existing groups. So we have delivery partners. We work with schools, we work with community groups, youth groups, residents associations, all sorts of groups across Northern Ireland. So, for example, organisations that work on employability like Springboard or Impact Training, personal development things like the King's Trust or Youth Action. This week I was up with Roe Valley Residents Association. We've been in with regional colleges. So there are ready-made groups of people, and we can speak to the members of staff who can tell us what it is that they need, and we can sort of start from there. We want to meet the young people where they're at. What makes us unusual compared to other organisations that do financial education is that for 16 plus we have a level 1 qualification in personal money management. So certain things that for young people, it could be the first qualification they get if they haven't done terribly well in school, or it could just be something that says, right, I'm ready for this adulting. I had somebody recently, when I was just talking about choosing the right bank account and switch, and they said, "Oh no, this feels too adulty. We want people to feel that they can do this particular part of it." So we liaise with our partner organisation where they have a group that are feeling confident. They're working on all sorts of other aspects, getting them ready for independence or work. And we come in and we add this, and we can see the effect that it has when it is part of that wider program. Sometimes I would have gone, I'd have seen young ones for 2 days. We had this really intense 2 days, and everybody's exhausted by the end of it, and off they go. And a couple of times it was this really lovely. Where I went to an event with I think it was Springboard, and there was a young person I hadn't seen for 3 months, and he came up and he said, "I figured out what it was that was wrong with my credit score, and I fixed that," which was so lovely, that he was. And somebody said, "Oh yes, I've started a savings account." And I know Michelle has been in somewhere where she ran into somebody who said, "Oh, I found my child trust fund." Other organizations saying that the people are bringing this up in their one-to-one meetings. They might not be, we give them that information, and it might take a little while to sort of percolate and make sense. And then down the line, they're able to start those conversations again and just be, right, I'm ready to talk about this now. And that's great. So when it's in that sort of that wider well-being and the whole picture of a person, that works really well.
Even recently, when I look at the high street bank advertisement, they are also trying to motivate young people, even the kids, to start saving, trying to educate them. Did you see that? Like, also adverts going on. And I think even the fact money already exists and you're doing all the books. So do you still think the financial education in school is inconsistent?
Yes, it is. But there's as you say, there's a lot of banks are advertising in that way, looking at the fact that our habits start from where they start forming from we're 7 years old. And the sooner we can instill good habits, the better. So there is across financial institutions and across governments, there is a big push at the minute on financial well-being and financial inclusion, because there are so many people who either for the lack of education or because of their socioeconomic circumstances are excluded from the sort of the wider financial systems we have in the country. So the education system isn't quite there yet. So in Northern Ireland, we have there's a process at the minute looking at the curriculum, the Transform Ed. It's been going on for a few years, and there's a consultation period at the minute on the proposed curriculum. So we have to sit down and have a little look at that and see if there's enough financial education in there. But until it's consistent and until it's measured, staffed, and financed properly, because the proper training to get people expert trainers in all of our schools, it's going to cost money, and until that is done, we're there.
I know, like even for the last all these years, we talk about living cost crisis, and that's when even with the FCA, they are looking at the products that promote financial inclusion. Are you building products that make people feel more comfortable with their finances? There are innovation pathways we can explore. Because you're trying to, again, as I mentioned earlier, even before the podcast, the whole idea about what we're building is to make sure people are financially resilient. Because even the last podcast I done, we had this conversation around if you have an emergency savings for the next 3 months on your bank account, the amount of relief that gives you is incredible. So that's real. And you know what? Like 1/3 of the UK population don't have any emergency savings. That's very alarming fact as well. And the whole conversation we had so far is around schools and how to help the students when they're in schools with talking about finances, savings, investing. What happens when they leave school and what happens when they go into uni, and after that they go into workplaces? So what's there? What's there to support them?
Well, we would say not enough. And again, that is why we keep.
That's why we exist here.
Well, exactly. Well, interesting when you say about university, there are two. I was reading 2 articles this morning about student loans and potential changes to student finance and fees here in Northern Ireland, and just the people that were interviewed in the little BBC article saying, "I didn't understand. I thought my loan was free money, and I didn't understand the impact on the decisions I made." And it's we go into schools at sixth form and say, right, we have a program called Uni Ready. Say this is it. We're not here to say university is the best way or the only way, but what we want to do is give you the information, because there's so little understanding about student loans and what that actually means for you.
Yeah.
And we would also say, so for us, transitions are very important. Transitions are the moments where there's a lot of potential for learning and then a lot of potential for mistakes.
Yeah.
So you get that first pay slip and you're like, woohoo, I've got this money. So how many mistakes can be made there? Well, first of all, if you don't know that there are going to be deductions, you could be already planning what you're getting. And then you're expecting a gross, but you get a net pay.
Yeah.
And that's they're two very different amounts of money potentially. Or you blow it all in the first week and then go, but I have another 3 weeks to get through of this month. How am I going to do this? So that's where we would say that there's a big potential for employers to include some financial education in their onboarding and in their ongoing sort of CPD. We actually, I'd have to get my figures right for this because we have
lots of more students which are attached there.
Always, if there's once a teacher, always a teacher. No, we so we have a campaign this year called The Cost of Not Knowing, because what we want to do is sort of flip that on its head. We want people to be empowered and informed. And we researched, I think it was 30,000 adults across the UK about different aspects of financial education. And we would find that most of the learning happened between 19 and 24. And so that's because this is when the mistakes are happening. You didn't know about savings before, and then you suddenly hit 19 and 20 and you have to go, oh, I have to start saving. Or I never knew about taxes until I got my payslip. But as part of that research, we also asked about the well-being cost. And we found that 39% of the employees that we asked feel anxious when they're thinking about money. That's just thinking about money.
Just thinking
about money. And then 27, and this was a really big eye-opener for me, because 27% feel ashamed that they don't know more. And shame is such a powerful sort of block in this sense, because if you feel ashamed that you don't know more, how confident are you going to be to ask? As I said, people ask me now whispered conversations because they don't want to admit that they're like me in their 40s and have never had a conversation about their pension.
That shame is real. Like this whole shame around talking about money. Yeah. If like you get offended if you're gonna ask someone about you saving or you're investing. Yeah. Like that shame's still there. Yeah.
And the shame can come across in a couple of ways, because we can either be like no talking at all, but in Northern Ireland, we like to hide a lot behind humour. So that can come across as, sure, I never save, or, oh, I can't wait for payday because I've had nothing for 3 months. There's this sort of jokey, bantery, but behind that, there is a shame about not knowing better.
I used to tell my manager, so I'm skinned. Yeah. I'm skinned after 2 hours of getting paid.
And of course, there's a certain amount of just, that is just humour, but behind that, there are some real issues there, some real, this anxiety, because 21% are losing sleep due to financial stress, and 15% report strain in relationships. All of those things are not happening in isolation. People are bringing those stress and that anxiety into their work. So there is also, obviously you want a nice happy workforce, but also there's a bottom line here effect that if people are stressed, they're not going to be as effective in their work. So if you want them to be working better, one way to help that is to sort of help them understand their money a bit better. I've had conversations with 2 different organisations. One where they have a large number of apprentices, and they say, so they're 16, 17-year-olds coming out of school, just getting all this money, possibly still living at home, and loads of it was going on gambling. And then another group where they had a lot of graduates who were starting with the organisation and opting out of the pension. And of course, as a HR person, you say, but a pension's a good thing. But this, what I'm saying about helping people to understand and enthusing people, and given the confidence to go, right, actually, this is my future, rather than just, well, it's pension, that's for old people. I met a young woman in a course who didn't know the difference between a pension and inheritance. So she was like, why would I pay into a pension for somebody to get when I die? I said, no, this is for future you.
Yeah.
So if you want your employees to understand all the good things that they're getting from you, including pension contributions, that it's a no-brainer to.
Yeah, I feel I feel happy, because I remember when I was working, then I looked at my pay slip, oh, that's a lot of money going to my pension. Then I went to my manager and said, can you actually work me off from my pension? It's like, come on, Sanil, like you need that money when you're retired. You have to look after yourself. But I was like, but that's too much money, but that's fine. Yeah. It's not only you contributing, that's your employer contributing as well. So why are you actually missing out? But now I look at my bank account and I can see that's like a couple of grand. Yeah. I can see my pension. Yes. Like, that's good.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you only get that when you retire, but still, that's some money saving for you there.
Yeah, but this is so one of the things that I was actually up on a session yesterday up in Invervalley, and we were actually just looking at, paying your national insurance contribution and your pension contributions. Like, yes, okay, you might be putting that in your pension, but if you took that out, if you didn't do that anymore, you'd be losing these free. And we make it very visual and very clear. You would be giving up this free money very few times in your life. You get free money, but also you wouldn't get all that chunk because that would be taxed. So actually, chatting through mistakes I've made with my own first job, I made an awful mistake with my pension, and I just so essentially gave up all that free money after 3 years of work for it, took it out. Big major mistake. But again, I said I tell these stories, so hopefully these people won't, other people won't make that mistake. And we know we are in a cost of living crisis, and some people will say, I can't afford this at the minute, and that may be the case. But if you are making that decision fully informed, as opposed to just the feeling, I can't do this, it's a huge difference.
Now we mentioned about the opt-out pension, so they introduced like opt-out pension not too long ago, but just because of the fact most of people have pension now. And that's the direction they're trying to move towards, workplace savings. So they want to make it opt-out workplace savings.
Yeah.
That's a good thing though, then people end up having more savings, just like they have pension now.
Yeah.
Then, so what's your plan to get into these workplaces, trying to, educate these people, look at the employees in different work. So is that something you want to explore more down the line, or?
Well, yes, we do. We already have a program, we call it Work Ready.
Okay.
And it is, you can sort of adapt it for different workplaces. But we essentially look at what we would call the five habits of financially healthy people.
Yeah.
And that is so tracking your spending when it comes in, understanding your deductions, your pay slip, actually understanding this money that comes to you every month. It would be planning for future you, being an informed borrower, because when you start to get money, then all these options become open to you. And if you're thinking about whether that is getting a credit card, buying a house, getting things on finance, being informed about all of these, and preparing for future you, diversifying your savings, which was something that you would have talked about at that session with Michelle up at the Learning Festival. So we look at those habits and we find it's especially effective when you've got people who are in their first job, whether that is because they are apprentices, or your work happens to get in a lot of people who are just entering the workforce, or you recruit a lot of graduates. It's perfect when you have that sort of a large number of people who are just coming into the workforce, to educate them on that at that transition phase. We also develop materials that can be included, for example, on a works intranet, to share financial education products. So those are two of the ways that we can support workplaces to support their staff.
You already mentioned a couple of stats regarding the stress regarding the financial worries. How early does it start?
With the financial stress
in the workforce, yes.
Well, I don't have stats necessarily on that, but I know that it's, I can anecdotally say from the young people that I speak to, it starts, there are primary school people who are worried about money. And
Primary school?
Yeah, genuinely, there are some, because you can go in and you can see lots of different attitudes, because you've got the people who don't spend anything because they're scared, they don't understand it, and then people who don't understand it and spend everything. We call in primary school, we talk about big spenders and savvy savers, so we put it like that, but that carries on the whole way through. We can see, so a colleague was up with a group of students in, I think it was Strabane, and we got them to write feedback, and one person had written, you've taken away all my anxiety about student finance. You've taken away all my anxiety about student finance. So that was there at 17. There was another person, I think I was in Coleraine, in a session up there, where a person written in the feedback, I never thought I would understand this. Thank you very much. And they're using the words like, I was very anxious. I had anxiety about this, because they didn't understand at all. So it starts, for different people, it starts at different ages, but it can start very young. And as soon as you have any sort of financial obligations, we work a lot with people, for example, care experience young people who are facing a cliff edge at 18, where they're going to be responsible for everything. And that anxiety starts, for some people, it only starts at 18, where they suddenly realize. For other people, it can be starting years before, because they know this is coming.
And I think it just carry along.
And
and financial stress is really connected with all other well-being, like it's gonna affect your mental health.
Yeah.
Then I've seen like studies, if you're like financial stress, that's gonna affect you physically as well. It's gonna affect your hormones and
Yeah.
it affect your whole body. Then, as we already touched on the workforce, financial worries, if every UK employer can do one thing tomorrow to help their workforce with their financial stress, what's that one thing?
Build financial education into your onboarding processes and into the sort of an ongoing CPD or well-being. See it actually, so all well-being, not just as a tick box, see it for the benefits that it can bring. And that is especially at that onboarding process. I've been on both sides of it. I've started with new jobs. I've also supported new staff especially when I was a teacher. I had people straight out of university who didn't have any idea about their money and their wages, and HR might just say, you're on an emergency tax code. What does that mean? You're enrolling in a pension. What does that mean? Actually finding a way to make it real, to make it make sense, to help employees feel empowered and that they can make a difference by engaging with this thing that we have to deal with every day, and not just go, I don't want to adult.
I had before coming to the podcast, I had an investor conversation earlier. We're talking about what's happening in the space. You're trying to sell to the businesses, SMEs, and she was like, most of the SMEs or even the bigger corporates, which have a lot of well-being benefit, is more like a tick box. And for the SMEs, they want to provide something for their workforce, but the existing solutions aren't built for them. And for the bigger corporates, they already have these things, but nobody actually care about using the well-being benefit. So what difference it makes? I know you mentioned this need to be an onboarding thing, but how are you gonna have that conversation with the SMEs? Tell them. So where the needle actually move, and what actually moves the needle?
Well, if you as an organization, especially for SMEs, they've got a lot. One person might be doing a lot of different jobs.
Exactly.
There are organizations, for example, we can come in and we can do that. We can support with that, and you can see, you can see the benefit. We can get feedback of what things that people have done immediately to make a change to their financial presence and their financial future. So if it's not something that you feel comfortable with, get somebody in to support with that.
Exactly, because we were talking about an HR person, and then they were like, we don't actually measure the staff turnover ourselves, because again, I'm doing a lot of things. I have to do the admin, I have to do the HR thing, and there's not much time left to look at these things. That's one conversation came upon the podcast with the Susan as well, because the stat says 75% of the organization don't have a well-being plan or a financial well-being policy. What to do. So this is a market we are going through. So what's the plan for Money Ready in the whole UK or Money Ready in NI for the next couple of years to tackle this?
Yeah, well, we are just continuing to work as in primary schools, secondary schools, and with increasing numbers of young adults. If I could take over the world, starting with Northern Ireland, would be all over. We've just a couple of months ago got a new trainer. We were always focused sort of here in Belfast, and we've now got a new trainer up in the northwest, so that we can reach more places. We're a small country, but anybody who's tried to drive around on our roads knows that there's a lot to cover with just one person. So it's been great that we've been able to get another. We've got 2 trainers, so we can reach more people, and especially in rural areas that might not be as well served. For example, having another trainer is really helping with that. So we just want to reach more people. So if there are any organizations that are interested in getting us in, they can get in touch with us. So we're just we're moneyready.org, and you can email at northernireland@moneyready.org to ask about our programs and how we can help. That's it, just helping more people to feel financially confident.
It is, and you only work with a couple of organizations so far. And so, what's the trend? Like, if you can name any sector or the size of the business, who is more inclined towards having these programs in the workplace?
Well, we all sorts of interest from all sorts of places. Traditionally, we work more with youth groups.
Okay.
But when we started, we went up to 25. Or sorry, when I started in 2024, we were going up to adults age 25, but we already are working with people up to 40 years old, because so many people were saying, I have people who are older than this. Can you come and talk to our this and that? Can you come and talk to our staff? We've actually had increasing interest in the programs from people who are supporting other people. So whether that is school staff wanting it, or youth organization staff wanting it, or health staff wanting it for themselves, so they're better able to support the people that they support. Because so there was a study done in, I think it was the Bank of Ireland in 2021 or 2022, that the Northern Ireland, so the adult financial literacy rate here in Northern Ireland is 53%, meaning that on average we're only just about getting half of the questions right. So that is the base level that everybody is starting with. So if companies want to sort of take that in mind, that the people that they are employing, like, we're getting only 53% of questions right. It's not it shouldn't be something that we are ashamed about, and it shouldn't be something that companies would think, oh, that people don't need that. We do. We're starting from a really low baseline, and if we can all sort of pull together, that school financial organizations, they could be building more financial education into their products, that when they're selling credit cards and everything, and employers, if we can all work together with this to help get that background level up, everybody benefits.
And still the employers think our employees don't need financial education.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. They don't realize, how big is the gap. Because like, this is like, if you help your staff or the employees to get financial resilience, they'll be more stress free, and they'll be more productive at work.
Yeah.
Like,
and even interesting. So I did it was a session in Queens, and I was asking, there were first year students, and I was asking them, what do you wish you'd known before you started? Most people were saying things like budgeting, saving, borrowing. Budget and saving, that came up again and again. But interestingly, I had a chat with two young men who they were either doing finance or economics, and we had a bit of a competition, and they were racing it. They got all the answers right about the forms of payment, and the little quiz night stuff. They got everything right. The only thing was, who was faster. But when I asked them that question, what do you wish you'd known? One of them said the price of pints. I can do nothing about that. That information is there. That's not included in our session. But the other one said that it doesn't grow on trees. Now, he is a finance or economics student. He knows, like, theoretically, he knows all the theory, but himself budgeting from month to month, an entirely different thing. So even if you've got a workforce that has done economics, that has done maths, whatever, the difference between the theory and the how I get from the start of the month to the end of the month is so different. So if we can get companies to help to get people to understand, yes, we can, if joking about it not growing on trees, but how we can actually make it work for us, how we can make money make sense, that would be great.
Yeah. And when you look at all the well-being benefits offered now, obviously you get, what is it? Like, you get discounts per shop. That actually trying to make you spend more money. Someone else making money from it.
Yes.
And there's another well-being benefit. It's called benefit, but you get access to your pay before your payday.
Yes.
That's a bigger player in the market. But what they're actually doing, you're putting your staff in a debt cycle.
Yeah.
Obviously. So these are the tools currently now, and there are like really good tools focused on mental well-being, offering support, and there are like tools to offer like financial advice. And I've seen organization bringing in financial advisor once a year and taking a seminar, and that's it done. There's no follow-up, nothing. So that's where we want to come in and say, no, this is an ongoing process. Why don't you just watch a minute video on saving, budgeting, like that? That same thing. You're trying to do like financial education, because it's not a tick box.
No,
if you actually put some time on it, it can actually make a bigger difference. Because at the end of the day, people makes the business, and if your people are worried about their financial, then that's where the business losing money. Around 2 billion is lost every year for UK businesses. So that's the money wasted. So and there's also studies say, if you invest £1 into financial well-being, the return is like £5 for the businesses. So it is needed. And coming back to the whole UK picture, so what does a financially fluent UK look like in next 10 years for you?
Well, so we talked about anxiety.
Yeah.
To me, a financially fluent population is one that doesn't feel anxiety the minute you mention the word money. So that anxiety is gone from just the very mention of the word. And we want people to feel empowered. We can't, financial education can't, you could say it's a bit like a seatbelt, in a car. It doesn't stop a crash, but it can limit damage. So we want people to be empowered by this and feel like it is helping them to get a bit of control to make decisions, rather than feel that they're sort of just bumped along with absolutely no control whatsoever. We think we want to see it's a tool for independence, a tool for stability, and a tool for opportunity. And we want it to be an expected, well-funded, well-supported part of our education system across the UK.
And how far are we from that?
We are not there yet. Obviously, if we're saying what we'd like the world to look like in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years time, and I wish I had a crystal ball, and I wish I could say it's going to be perfect, but we're still a ways away from that. But there are so many organisations that are working towards this, and you can see that it is more in the conversation in terms of governments and planning curriculum. We have the Northern Ireland Financial Wellbeing Service, or Wellbeing here. Sorry. The Northern Ireland Financial Wellbeing Forum, full of organisations, and the Money Guiders Network, full of organisations who are doing their bit in youth groups, in community groups, in food banks, in everywhere that we can to try to improve this picture. So until we get to that perfect, anxious-free, anxiety-free, empowered place, Money Ready will be here to try to help.
Again, yeah, of course. And we done an employee well-being survey. Then people are talking about like why you're not saving. Then they were like, well, I have lots of bills to pay, or there's like, too much spend. There's nothing left by end of the month to save. Then you also asked about, do you think if you start saving, if your employer supported you with some sort of well-being benefit? And 50% of the respondents for the survey said yes.
Yeah.
So like people would love to get engaged with these things if there's a support coming from. And that's the angle we were trying to move in as well, because when I was working as a manager, I have seen like teams struggling with personal finances. I struggled myself. Then I was like, why it should be, why there is no support? Then I look at bigger corporates. They have all these, well-being benefit. They're paying like £10-15 per employee per month.
Yeah.
And when you look at the stats, only 8% of people actually use it. And then these employees, maybe they don't even need those benefits because they're fine. But when you look at the down-level workers, like frontline workers, like who work on minimum wage or like lower medium income, they are the ones who actually need it.
Yeah.
But there isn't anything actually support this group. So that's the whole story behind what we're building. We need a tool that actually works for the employer and also work for their employees. They can easily provide them.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole mission. Like we both trying to make the population financially resilient.
Yeah.
And we're all trying different ways as well. And financial education is something we need. And as we mentioned earlier, we wish this was taught in school.
Yes, very much. Very much so.
Even the whole the uni fees thing, I'm an advocate for apprenticeships because you're not spending a lot of money in university, you're trying to work. But still, if someone is empowered with whatever they're doing from the schools, they can carry along. As you mentioned, there's a small habits they can carry along to the workforce. But we still need to look after the people who are already in the workforce now, which we didn't get it in schools. And what's the plan for the Northern Ireland specific for the next couple of years?
Well, yeah, as I said, just trying to reach more places that we haven't been yet, and build on the partnerships we've already started. And we're just every year. I'm actually at my hub planning, but at the minute where I'm planning for next year, just it's been really lovely for me to look and see how much we've grown, how many people are having us back in to and seeing the second or third or fourth cohort go through an organisation. And seeing the staff members go, oh, the last time you were in, I went and did this. I had a youth worker just go, where were you when I was 17? So the benefits.
I asked the same question. Where were you when I was in school?
Where were you? So just building more of those partnerships and just keep on reaching, as you said, the people who didn't get it in school, because it isn't too late. We are there now to sort of help fill in the gaps that we're not
No worries.
not technical school.
And what's the best thing you like about the job?
I love so much about my job. I love just the wide range of people that I get to meet, and when you get that little moment with somebody who at the start didn't see that it was for them, and then they make a big difference at the end. You know, they come back the next day and they say, "Oh, I've looked this up and I've changed this." Or when somebody and member staff comes up and goes, "Do you know that person who's been asking all those questions?" They normally say nothing.
Okay.
Or when they have that moment where they go, I can do this. This isn't as bad as I thought it was. Or I know I understand I can save somebody who goes away and just they're acting on that immediately. And just the range of people that we are able to help and see and work and support in this job it's great. I used to sort of worry when I taught people in school what happens afterwards, and now I get to see this. I get to work with primary school, secondary school, young adults and adults. I get to see the range of organizations that are supporting people across NI, and I just I love
That actually connects with me because when we talk about the features for the app, I know that like we built everything in a way. I was like, if that feature gonna make someone save money, which they wouldn't otherwise, that's where our win.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want to do. We want to. It's simple to say we just gamify savings, but we want to design features. I was speaking to an expert in behavioral science, and they were like, "You're trying to change people's behavior. You're trying to make them save more money. That's actually changing someone's behavior."
Yeah.
So design a feature in a way, trying to make people save more money or spend less.
Yes.
Because most of the time, someone don't know how money is because they're spending a lot. So it's easier to reduce the spending so that they have more money left to save. And that's the mission for us as well. And you already said you got plans lined up for the rest of the year. There's lots of happening next year.
Yeah.
And so best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
No worries. And did you see a wide gap between Northern Ireland and England or Wales or Scotland in terms of the adoption or the audience or the feedback?
Well, we are working as an organization. We're working with very similar groups across all of the different hubs, because as a charity, that's who we are gearing towards. But unfortunately, the statistics that I am looking up because of my roles often shows that in Northern Ireland we're a little bit worse off in terms of our saving and our resilience and our in fact, actually, we use cash more in Northern Ireland than we do in other parts of the UK. There's still a sort of cash is king.
We see that everywhere.
You do. Cash is king, and sometimes it's a sort of mistrust of institutions. Sometimes it's just being financially excluded, not understanding. And because there could be people with great savings habits, but they're keeping it. You know, they're giving it to a family member to look after and missing out on interest, for example. So it's that gap between what could be really good habits and the knowledge about how you can get the system to work for you, understanding and engaging it. So yes, that is one way that I noticed the difference over here. But we went across all the Money Ready hubs. There are lots of organisations that we're going in and we're working with who need this and are delighted that we are going in and able to support their.
No worries. Is there any other stats we've missed?
In case I get in trouble.
I can see lots of notes. You need to make sure
you've seen my notes. Yeah, well, it's some of the things that we have. Some of the things we covered is with the cost of not knowing. You're talking about things like understanding what if we talk about being an informed borrower, understanding debt and borrowing, so that 46% of adults believe that all debt negatively affects their credit scores, and 27% believe that all debt is inherently bad, and 23% wrongly assume that using a debit card prevents debt. That's like, credit card is bad, debit card is good. So that's really basic, like, knowledge that people are entitled to have to understand that better. And I can see how those statistics relate to people I'm working with. I was with a young person who had gone into his overdraft, but nobody ever told him what an overdraft is. So when he put money back in his bank, and the bank took the money that he took from the overdraft, he was like, "It's a scam. It's a scam." I said, "But it's not a scam. This is a consequence of you going into an overdraft." So just our cost of not knowing campaign just gives lots of examples about of where where if you get the learning sooner, it would be better. It'd just be better all around. And I see that as well. Up where we work, there's a mortgage advice company beside me, and when we meet up in the tea room, the mortgage advisor will have all these chats about what do you wish people knew, and he says he sees people coming with all the money they're saving for their deposit in their current account. So again, the savings habit is there. It's just sitting in the current account, not getting any interest, or not understanding to check their credit score before they go for mortgages.
It's not even beating the inflation.
It's not even, no, because of course that's one thing that we show when we're talking about the difference between saving your cash in a jar under your bed and putting it into a savings account, and looking at things like LISAs and ISAs and investing in pensions. Obviously that cash, the buying power of cash just goes down because of inflation, and they're just so not understanding all these little things that can affect, or people not understanding. So again, thinking about debt and borrowing, met somebody who didn't realize that a phone contract was a form of borrowing, lost their phone and thought, well, I'm not using it anymore, so I'm going to stop paying. But of course that was a debt. They had borrowed money to get the phone and they were paying it back, didn't understand, and is now going to have to pay off a debt. Well, yeah, because they're paying it into their next decade. They're not going to be debt free for another 10 years because they repeated that mistake.
It's going to be on their history as well.
It's on their history, yeah.
If they're going for a mortgage, they'll be like,
yes,
can't get money after we find out 6 years.
Yeah. And then some people who think, oh, well, I never want to buy a house, so my credit score doesn't matter. But actually, no, that's going to get you better deals for lots of different things. Or people not understanding that they have access to social tariffs. That's a huge one with the young people that we go to see. I think, thinking again about one of the things that I would love, if we talk about being anxious about money, it's about giving a little bit of hope, because I'm seeing people are saying, like, I can never get out of debt. I can never get a house. I can never retire. They're taking these messages and they think they have no agency. And now we all absolutely recognise there's a cost of living crisis and you cannot budget your way out of poverty. There are lots of people out there who just need the information and the confidence to make decisions that are going to work better for them. And that's what I just love to be able to, that we could just keep giving more and more people this hope and this feeling of empowerment, and that's what I love to do.
And again, nowadays the social media is there, like they're like half of the stuff in social media, like people saying, like I don't think so, like half of stuff doesn't make work.
Yeah.
And then people will confuse, is that what I meant to do actually to get like financially free?
Yes.
And people get confused about financially free and financially resilient.
Yeah.
It's both different things.
Yes. And of course there's a lot of finfluencers now in the world, and there's some people giving some excellent guidance, and there are others that aren't, and others not understand that everybody's circumstances are different. So just like any sort of media literacy, we want people to understand any aspect of social media, that what you see presented is not necessarily the full story, and that's especially important when it comes to people who are giving financial guidance. Well, and if they are purporting to give some financial advice and they are not, regulated to be doing so, it's a very dangerous space to get wrong.
Well, we're all on the kind of same mission, and because I started this thinking this app existed for me when I was an employee, and this was existed for my team members, which I can provide, and we are doing this because we wish this was there in schools when we are all in school. And but we keep doing what we're doing, and we have more financially literate population, and more people should have emergency savings. So that's one of the things we keep it as a vision, to have more UK employees have an emergency saving. Don't need to worry much about their financial. So we'll do our best. And I wish, this is what I always say on podcasts, I wish we can talk this all day long. We need to finish the podcast now. But there are lots of things we can talk about. We may try to do more episodes, specifically focus. I'm also excited to see how much we'll be delivering in the workforce as well. Looking forward to see what's happening in that space, and how many employers we can help to support their employees.
Yes.
I do believe the employees should get support through their employers
Mhm.
to manage their personal finances.
Yeah.
Because they spend most of the time in the workplace.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah. And thanks again for coming today and bringing all the stats.
Yes, for doing my homework and coming prepared.
No worries. I appreciate that. And thanks for the honest feedback. And as I mentioned earlier, we had like a very easy conversation. Talking about what you're doing and what money that you're doing.
Mhm.
And I love the conversation as well.
Thank
And
you.
thanks again.
Thanks very
Cheers.
much. Thank
No
you. Good luck.
worries.
Thank you.
Same to you. Bye.
Okay.